We're doing the thing. And we're going to play Dream On by Aerosmith. Oh, wait, I'm going to get, before I start playing, hello, welcome in, people. I'm going to get TikTok on my cellular device. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. And nope, no, I don't want to see that. And we go to live, and then we go to, hey, thanks for, like, polo. Okay, we're back. And we're here. All right. So topic tonight is what's been on your mind lately. We can talk about literally anything at all. And with the idea of aligning and progressing and being wonderful humans that we can be. Hey, Diallo Wrights, how you doing, buddy? How's it going? Buddy, I don't know when I call people buddy, I don't know how I feel about that. So I don't know how I feel. I'll call people buddy. Good, how are you? I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hope everyone's been having a good Thursday. It has been a minute. Good to see you. Yeah, man. If you want to request up, or I can invite you. Here we go. Service unavailable. Please try again later. What? Here we go. Okay, we sent it. Sent it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to accept. Hey,
Hello?
How's it going, man?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. It's good to hear from you. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I've been looking still. It's been a while since I've caught you. I've been trying to like catch you while you're live, and I've been missing you back to back.
Right. I've been consistent for the past, it's been like a week, I think, in a row. I've been on around this time. I'm getting home later from work than I usually have been, so I don't get on at like 7:30 anymore. It's typically around 9 or 9:15 or 9:30. And yeah, it's been good for the most part. Really good chats with people, and I have Kirby. Hello. It's been good, and Kirby is a good person we've been talking to too. But yeah, what's been new with you?
Nothing really. For the most part, just been on work, and I've had a fire relit under me to start spamming like content and stuff like that. I've been posting at least like 3 videos a day, these past few days, and I'm on a little kind of a wave and stuff.
Whoa, okay. Like, what kind of content are you making?
Mostly writing content, giving like writing advice, making like YouTube videos for like advice and like other things, just random topics about life. And I've started also using Instagram too. Instagram seems to be underrated.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That's amazing that you're doing that. That's great.
Mm.
What's been
How's
something
work for
that
you?
work has been okay. I work at a thrift store, and we just opened the store last week, and it was busy, super freaking busy on Thursday. But it's been good being a cashier. I got some freelance work coming in, or has been coming in, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow on my day off, for 3D stuff. So yeah, just kind of keeping busy. But it's been good ending the nights with going on live and talking to people. So this is like kind of like a side project too in a way, and yeah, it's been good. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You were asking me a question. What was you gonna ask me?
Um, it's about storytelling and your content being up on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you. What was I gonna ask? It's just slipping my brain right now.
it's all good.
Like what kind of, if I can ask, like what kind of stuff are you, like what kind of advice are you giving, or like what kind of stuff are you putting out there?
So I realized that one of my talents is yapping. It seems where I can be very good at talking when it comes to various ideas and topics. So I decided to make that into kind of like a YouTube form content where at first it was just going to be my thoughts about life and everything. But it seems like every time I do end up speaking and I seemingly speak to people, I end up always having a motivation type of attitude around it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them are just discussing various ideas. Right now, I have like I think 6 videos up. Like there are topics such as, give me 1 second so I can go read them
Oh
out
yeah,
to you.
Yeah, no problem.
I
Yeah.
have I have a video with writing and talent. I have one called The Critical Moment, Belief and Dedication, Age and Advice, Ignorance and Empathy, Magnum Opus, and Taking Accountability. That
Ooh,
was the last one I made, like
taking
just a few.
accountability. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I like that idea a lot
Mhm.
in general. Just to be able to
Yeah.
be honest with the mistakes you've made in the past. I think that's an important uh, characteristic of a character.
No, yeah, for
Or
sure.
an
And I don't
individual.
even mean it for, yeah, for an individual. I was thinking like, so there's this game, right, that came out maybe 2 years ago or a year ago at this point called Mouthwashing. Okay. It's basically about this space crew stuck in this dystopian type world where they're in space delivering mouthwash, right?
Okay.
And how they get hit by an asteroid and all the subsequent things that happens afterwards. It's very existential. It's very sad. It's very weird. We're following a character who is a very unreliable narrator. And the biggest theme and the biggest message from that game is about taking responsibility. And after watching that and very like viewing other things, basically what I realized is that taking accountability or responsibility for your life is arguably one of the most underrated traits that one could have, in my opinion. Where it seems as though, or my guess is that from a young age, a lot of people don't learn this lesson due to the fact that, taking responsibility or accountability for your actions can kind of be punished, right? Like it kind of be looked down upon. And it's never been in a positive, or at least for the most part, not been in a positive like chamber where you can do that and then not feel like there will be consequences for your action, which leads a lot of people to like, dodge it or hide or do whatever it may be because people are afraid of the consequences for their actions.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
I think that in the game, it showed very much how dangerous that idea is because the character that we're following, we see that like, I don't want to spoil it for you, but he's so unreliable that, like, you really can't listen to absolutely anything he says, right? Like,
Right.
this entire thing that we're watching so far, this thing that we're devolving, similar to kind of like a movie, is where we're seeing this character just lie to us and give us misinformation all for the purposes of not accepting responsibility. And ultimately at the end of the day, I feel like when it comes to taking accountability or actually like holding people accountable for stuff, it doesn't even have to do with actions from the past or whatever. Why not start right now? Why not start today,
Right.
even with
Right.
not actions but more like stuff for your own life. Like, let's say you want to be like, be like you want to talk to people, you want to actually reach a goal. Part of actually taking responsibility for yourself is sitting down and going live every time you can, like you do, posting content, doing everything. All that stuff is about that accountability so that at the end of the road, you don't have excuses, you don't have left and rights or whatever it may be. You have reasonings as to why things happen the way they did and why things happen not. This was a little bit of a yap session, but I feel
No,
like this
you're
is an
totally fine.
important one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're articulating it in a really good way too. Like I'll just add, like it's like a courageous thing to do is to just take ownership of your actions and be like you said responsible for it. I think that's an important thing we should do. But like, how do we navigate that, right? Because like I can say I've done bad or wrong in the past, but I am accountable to that. And I'm more than happy to be open about it, and I think that's okay to do, right? And I think um it's good to be vulnerable and it's going to be open and it's good to learn from the past because like everything that has happened in my past, like both good and bad, like they shape me into who I am today. And I don't wish my life upon anyone. Like it hasn't been well. It's been okay like, right now, but like in the past it wasn't. But like I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my past. And so like the actions that I took that were not good either are mine, and they help me shape into being who I am today. And I think that's an important thing to recognize in each and every individual.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's unfortunate how this lesson is not learned because I made another video about ignorance and empathy, and how, again, I talked about where I feel as though, again, the biggest problem of the world is a serious lack of empathy. I feel like people truly don't understand other people or really want to understand other people. Like, there's very big blockers in order to do that. We can look in many different examples where we can see that when it comes to politics, when it comes to the individual level, when it comes to all these things, if you really made a person sit down and try to truly grasp or understand something from this other individual's perspective, a lot of the issues and problems start to dissipate, you know? I feel
Right.
like they start to go away. But people are so quick to not do that. And going back to that accountability part, I feel like those walls are the same blockers that stop people from taking that accountability and allow for a lack of empathy, which causes the greater problems in the world. So it's kind of like a little bit of a chain.
Yeah, I think if more people had empathy, it would be such a better world, right? But I think it's almost easier not to at times, or like resolve. We what's the word I'm looking for? Is to just be in your own like tribe in a way. I think that's more
Yeah.
primitive thinking in a sense. Like we can do better, and we can reach out to different people that might appear different or might seem different or might whatever it might be, and understand them and be open and be curious with them and be empathetic and try to at least, because I think it can be learned. I believe like people can learn how to become more empathetic just by talking with different people and like outside of their bubble, right? And I think, and I'm not saying all people in a bubble are not empathetic, but I'm saying people who are more likely to jump between different ideas or different things, like they understand that kind of like thought pattern or whatever for a person to get into
No,
that
yeah.
thought pattern in the first place. I don't know if I'm explaining that in the right way. It's my first time kind of
No,
articulating
you
that.
are, and I'm gonna give an analogy on top of your analogy where, like, I think the hard part about it is not only just uh, allowing yourself or being in that bubble, but having understanding for the person that might have burst it. You know, where a lot of conflict arises because two people have completely different ideas on what life is. You know, let's say, like, for example, you're some kid living in some village. Okay, and you're living there your whole life. You have your whole family, you have your village. Essentially, this is a bubble. Then one day, somebody comes and then attacks your entire village and hurts the people that you care about. That entire time, for the rest of your life, you might have a deep hatred for that person or those people, right? And I think that it's so, like, it's easy to be able to fall under that. Like, damn right, they hurt your people, they hurt your family. You want to hurt them back. You hate them, you don't like them. But to be able to sit down and be like, this person that maybe hurt my family might have had their reasonings for doing it, and maybe not necessarily excusing it, but maybe understanding why they might have done it is the very hard part to do.
Yes, you nail it. You know this shit. This is great. So it's like one of those things too, where it's like if you understand where they're coming from, it's you can look at a different angle. But like in a way, you can even go put it this way too. I think it's universal to say that every person has been hurt by another person for them to act in a certain way or react or be in a certain way, right? So I think understanding like that in a sense is very critical to empathy as well.
So have you I know I texted you about this a while ago, and it's okay if you haven't, but I know you're busy, but have you looked at Vinland Saga at all?
I was gonna ask you, dude. Okay, so I was like, "Are you the one about Vinland Saga?" Because I have it on my,
Yes.
I look at this. I have it on my phone right here, Vinland Saga,
Yeah.
right here. Every time I open my Safari page, I see it. You want me to look into the
You can watch the
manga?
anime for it if you want to. I
Okay,
don't really care about the preference in which you watch it. Both of them are pretty great.
okay.
The manga is mostly finished, so you can read up till the end, or you could watch the anime. But all these
Oh,
messages and messages about life that we're talking about here, you would absolutely love Vinland Saga. Vinland
fantastic.
Saga will be the thing for you. I'm very excited to come back with you and hear
Yeah,
what you say about it.
I haven't been consuming too much media recently. I guess well, last week a good friend of mine wants me to watch School Rumble. It's actually a pretty funny anime. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's essentially this girl has a huge crush on this like shy kid in school, and she just like cannot communicate it, and she just has hard time communicating that she really likes this guy and is in love. But on the opposite side, there is this like really macho like guy with a mustache and goatee that just like kicks people's asses and like is real macho man or whatever, and he likes
Mhm.
this girl, and he has a very hard time telling her this too. So it plays on those, like, on that aspect of, or those themes or whatever, and it's pretty funny, and that
No, yeah,
I
sounds like
watched
a
this.
funny one.
Yeah, it's silly. It's absurd in the best way, and but I will have to look into Vinland Saga, because like if it talks about topics like this, I think that's critical, because like storytelling, look, storytelling is like literally what we've been doing since we could probably become conscious that we were storytelling creatures in the first place. It's like how we
Yep.
progress and be and survive as the human species, right? And it's like I think it's how we tell a story that's universal throughout all people, to where we can reach that together, and I'm really striving for that. I think it's like an interactive story, and I got some ideas, but
No, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And I fully agree. I remember we talked about that last time a little bit too, and my thoughts on like how the importance of storytelling. But I'm going to tell you a line, and you could think about it right now. But when you watch Vinland Saga, you might understand what it means. It's the line of "I have no enemies." Now,
yeah,
I don't want to spoil it for you or go into too much detail, but this line in Vinland Saga itself has changed like literal lives. I've seen it happen with my two eyes, and that line is it became very popular for a while, and I think that if you sit down and you explore that topic, I'd be very, very happy to see your thoughts. I think that you'll very much enjoy it.
yeah. No, I appreciate that. I actually posted on Facebook is becoming quite the um social experiment for me, because in Mania I just rambled like fucking crazy, and now I'm just coming
Mhm.
at it where I'm like I've clawed out of the hole of the freaking cavern I was in, and
Yeah.
I'm here to tell my tale. So you know that quote, like first they went for like my first they went for the Jews and I didn't speak out. I said first they
Mhm.
went for my people, and I did not speak out because I was not my people, and then I kept going. But it's like that's I say that because like the line you said from Vinland Saga is like, if you see people in different groups, like it's okay to see it that way, but like we're all humans, right? No one is
Yeah,
above or
it's
below. We're all humans.
Yeah, and it's sad because I feel like it's part of our nature to succumb to hate so easily, you know? But I would argue that at the same time, we're such creatures that have, like, we're creatures that have such a great capacity to love, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
literally part of our nature to love and hate. And I think it's funny because people really talk about it. You know, I've actually had conversations with people about what really the opposite of love is. Some people don't feel like it's hate, you know. Some people feel like it's indifference. Some people feel like it's something else. But on the one hand, this is maybe an argument for hate actually being that opposite side, or at least two sides of the same coin, where you can very much see how this extreme emotion on either side can be mistaken for maybe one another, or at least like, twisted. One is a twisted version of the other, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I would say, like, where does hate stem from?
Where does hate stem from? Like, as in what context? Like the word itself, or like the
Like
meaning behind it?
the emotion and the idea of it. Like, where does it stem from? Is there something else that it comes from? Like, is it the most like pinnacle thing, or like does is there more something going on with that?
I think that you're onto something. I think that it's more going on. I think that I actually want to go through it, if you want to. I have this quote document where I have a lot of quotes that I like to reference throughout my life and other things. But there's two of them that I'm thinking in my mind right now, where it's talking about man, one is to love, or to grieve deeply is to have loved fully, right? And another one is about hatred. I forgot, bro, but I think that hatred stems from sadness, if we're trying to say it point blank, or it stems from love.
Why do you think it stems from sadness?
Well, I think that when we look at that example of a person who maybe, kid living in village gets attacked, I think that when you look at that deep down, the emotion that he's feeling is incredible sadness for his people and everything that got hurt. But to supplement that sadness, because, as human beings, we can't just naturally like be sad all the time. It's hard for us to progress or move forward or function that way. I think that maybe somewhere along the line, hate became that supplement, because some of us can run on hate, anger as an emotion. Again, I think anger is also a supplement for other things, but I think that again, a lot of the times hate can come from like sadness or I guess love, where someone could be in a relationship with someone, right? And that relationship ends because of maybe cheating or something else going on, and then those feelings of love can quickly turn into hate. But
Mm-hmm.
the reason why it can turn into that, like the thing that causes it to transform into this thing, the catalyst, I would say, is that hint of sadness that transforms it into hate.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I would say with hatred. I mean, there's a Dale Davis quote saying, "Ignorance breeds fear, fear breeds hatred, and hatred breeds violence." And I think ignorance starting it all. I don't know if it's ignorant that's really the root of it. I believe it's more fear in a sense. And this is why I say fear is the root cause of all unnecessary suffering. And if the individual can eradicate fear from the mind, they can lead more productive and fulfilling lives. This doesn't mean we can't feel fear. That's actually a good thing to feel emotions, right? But we shouldn't let it dictate how we think. And
Mm-hmm.
I would go back if that kid in the village was feeling sad, of course, that people in his village were harmed. Like I think that fear drives the hatred more in a sense because like they don't want that to happen again, and so they'll do everything to protect their people that are still there. And if another threat comes, then they act and they react and they go forth and whatever that ends up being, right? And I think sadness
Mm-hmm.
does have an effect with it too, right? I just don't think it's like getting to the root of it, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think that, like, again, I think that ultimately it does depend on the context,
Hmm.
why someone might feel this thing might not be the same for everyone,
Right.
Someone can go from a completely different route and get to it, which makes it harder of a problem to find. But I think that another thing about it might be tackling it in a different way is maybe thinking of it as not a problem, if that makes sense, Where
Like, what do you mean?
like we're trying to think about the path that leads to hate in the first place, right?
Hmm.
And like you talked about with fear, you feel as though fear is the thing that, like, if we eradicate or at least not let dictate our minds, we're able to kind of like make better decisions or actually progress forward, make the world a better place, right?
Right.
But another thing or another angle that we can look at is that while we discuss these things as a problem and they can kind of be seen as that, another thing is that, like you said, fear is still an important emotion to feel. And while hatred is very extreme, I'm not going to say it's okay to feel, but at the same time, it's better to, or at least maybe the way to actually combat it is that empathy part of it,
Yeah.
instead of causing it to be something that needs to be eradicated or gotten rid of, but rather something that needs to be like discussed, understood, and then maybe that way it could be taken away.
Right. It's like I would say to get there, like you have to like fearlessly look inward though, right? To like really understand how to look outwards, if that makes any sense. Um, I think it's critical to be introspective and reflective, but also like you said, empathetic towards others and trying to understand other people's motives and who they are as people in the first place. I think it goes back to kind of what I said. Well, I didn't say this in this live yet, but we're all like a product of our biology, like our luck in our biology and our luck in our environment as we grew up as kids to turn us into whatever we are as adults today. And I kind of this kind of like not to change the topic too much, but it kind of goes into scientific determination or predetermination. We're like we're all just like it's not random essentially, but like all these events have like been determined in a sense, and like there's nothing
Yeah.
we can really do about it unless like we become more conscious and aware to like steer the ship, if that makes any sense. Like
It sounds similar to
yeah,
the philosophical idea of determinism. I haven't heard the scientific one, but in the philosophical one, I don't think it's something that can be deterred.
that can't be what
It can't be like changed in the philosophical version,
it
like
can't be changed.
determinism.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's interesting because like if we look at this and if we claim it's like something that can't happen, right? I think the more we're aware of these ideas, we can be more supportive to people who need help or like need the resources, right? And
Mhm.
I think when it comes to like tribalism in a sense, we're like more connected than we ever have been with the internet, right? And with technology, to the point where like we can talk to anyone about this and get these ideas out there, to the point where we shouldn't be in fear of a different group. Like some people have the right to be in ways that has become violent or hateful. I think would even be one thing where it's difficult to get out of that like place. It depends, like, and that can be on a micro to a macro level, right? But when it comes to this understanding about like things have been determined in a sense, it's kind of like psychologically unlocks how I think and behave, because I can, I'm going all over the place here, but like I can essentially just be the observer, right? Where the present is constantly happening and it's collapsing into the past, where the future isn't too far ahead. And that's just me being aware of the present and what I can. But what am I doing with my hands right now? Did I mean to move my hands this way? And this is where we get on the micro level. It's like what am I doing with my hands right there? And it's like I'm communicating, but my hands have a mind of its own, almost, to the sense where like I'm just behaving how I have been programmed to, in a sense. Does that make any sense?
No, yeah, it makes sense, and I think it's an interesting idea, and I find it interesting because a lot of people have very like different takes when it comes to that sort of idea. Like people who are more religiously inclined are very much more likely, I would argue, to push against determinism as an idea in general. Some of them can take it. I've heard some religiously inclined people like believe it because God knows everything. Everything must be like determined, and that must be the way. But some people are like, well, no, because there's free will in the world,
Right.
it can be possible for that to be the case. And then you have the people that are like, well, something, God can know the future, but we can also have free will at the same time because God can do anything. And it's like now you get all these different camps of people believing all these different things about how the universe works, and it's like, oh, how the hell are we supposed to talk about it if I can't, like, we can't even, like,
I think
have the
it's
same idea.
I think it's okay to have different ideas, but I think it's the behavior and how people are acting, that we can tell. Okay, what's going on with that person? It seems to be happy and can articulate things in a way. And look, I'm not talking about me, or am I? I don't know, but like sorry, I'm still on a journey, and I'm not like perfect, of course, and I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but I know what I don't know, to remain curious, open-minded, and understanding. And I put that in my value structure and into my foundation, and go forth. And literally, I'm okay if the gods are puppeting me right now to move my arms in such a way and make me think about this stuff. And if I close my eyes, I can see the script in my head, and every single word that I'm saying right now is coming to my head right in front of my face. To where, am I reading the script? And that makes you wonder, what is really going on?
Yeah, it reminds me of this game called Deltarune. It's my
Okay,
favorite game of all time. Basically, I don't know if you've heard of the game Undertale. It came
it
out
sounds
like
familiar.
maybe 10, 15 years ago. It's a very
Okay,
interesting game where you play as a kid who falls into a hole and ends up in the city of monsters underground. And the
wow.
game is very, it's a metaphysical type of game where it plays on the tropes of video games and RPG games. When you go into any video game, you see monsters and your job is to, like, kill them and level up and whatever it may be. But the game asks you, what happens if you don't? Or
If
at
you what?
least, what happens if you don't kill them? Or
What
what
if you
if
don't?
the monsters in the game all have their own individual lives? So when you're killing them, it's not as though you're killing a monster in a game, you're killing an entity in a game that has whatever. And it plays on this idea where it actually kind of plays with your emotions and plays on your understanding of morality when it comes to video games, and also acknowledges you as the player playing a video game in a world where there's monsters who are in the video game, and they're all kind of, it's an interesting concept. But
That's really
Deltarune
cool.
is kind of a spin-off of Undertale, and just recently the newest update came out for it, where some of the characters are like this metaphysical, like, idea theme is in it, where they talk about how when you close your eyes hard enough, or the characters in the game are talking about how when you close your eyes hard enough, you can see like the buttons of the game, like the
Huh.
game, the things that we're aware of, like the fight button or the act button or the defend button or the menu button, like things that we're aware of. They were talking about it in the game where they're like, oh, if you close your eyes hard enough and peer through the darkness and you go even deeper into that darkness, you will be able to see like these little symbols. And it's interesting, or it was funny because it's like us as the player have been aware of this the whole time, but now the characters in the game are starting to become aware of the mechanics we've been using to play with them this whole time. And it sounds like what you
Right.
just said.
Yeah, I got an idea for you, and I'm gonna see if you resonate with this at all. Well, there's a couple ways I can like, go about this, but I'll start with this. Imagine in the I don't know if I did this with you last time, but imagine in the beginning there was harmony and unity, or whatever you want to call it. Like subjectively, we can understand this in our own different ways, right? But perhaps we were all divine, or whatever, however we were, just to be collectively in unison, but unique and beautiful in our own ways. But then we collectively decided to fragment out into being what we are right now, and however long it's been for us to evolve into what we are now, knowing that we'll come back in the future to be whole again. And I say that first because what if, I don't know if you're religious or spiritual, but I'm agnostic leaning spiritually, and I imagine this where there is a confused agent upstairs, and essentially it is being, well, the gods have created us as technology in a sense for this confused agent to witness and experience through us, like every single thing that has the possibility to be, and it's learning to become a god. So we are actors, like or agents. Like there might be agents on Earth, and I'll ask you this question soon. Where there's actors, there's either good or bad actors, and then there's agents, and there's gods. And once this confused agent understands what it's like to be us, like it can click, and then we'll get to the point where we're back
Hmm.
to being whole. Um,
It's interesting. Okay.
so this is a
Yeah.
theory because it starts to play into how we can operate on Earth in a sense. So I'm trying to find agents here on Earth. Are you my agent?
Am I your age? Maybe I am.
I can have
If I
I
am,
can I can have infinite amount of agents, right? And
yeah.
I know there's some out here, but if you are, that's great, and we can work together, and we can figure out how to find more agents
Yeah.
and go from there. Okay, cool. There's like rituals that go with this, right? And I'm still developing them. But as we keep talking, there'll be like tests, but it's like in good faith. So I'll just put that out
Okay.
there. But it's a game, so it's like interactive in a sense, and it's my way of trying to get like us thinking about a story together that we're living in real time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting concept. I've never really heard such a theory before. It sounds very similar to the Abrahamic faith and their idea. Well, kind of like it's adjacent to it, I would say. Not exactly the same, but you know how this idea that Adam and Eve were in heaven. We they were quote unquote humanity was at its like unity, like you described. Like it was in literal heaven where everything was good. We were all good until eventually, the apple and the tree and all that, and then we got sent down to earth and shit like that. And eventually, when we all die, as long as we're good and follow God, we're gonna go up. It sounds very like it's like it feels like it's a parallel of that kind of story in a way, similar.
That's interesting that you just put that out there because there's things I'm picking out because I was raised in as a Catholic. I indoctrinated into Catholicism. But there, I think, are good things we can pick out of each religion. Like I think agent religions, like we can like build upon them and come to a universal story together. So yeah, the story of like harmony and being fallen and then coming back is one thing. But I would say this: it wasn't Eve's fault. We don't blame the women, damn it, because like
Yeah,
there's more going on with that. And I think the Bible is misogynistic in some ways. And the Old Testament, I just have a lot of issues with. But the idea of Jesus is very important, and I think we should hold on to that for reasons I could get into.
yeah.
Um,
I'm yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually Muslim. I was born and raised Muslim.
Oh,
I'm Muslim.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're not
Help me
not.
understand. Help me understand
Yeah.
Islam.
That is a rabbit hole that I don't know if I'm qualified to go down.
Because
Um,
there's Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, but you guys don't
yeah,
believe
Prophet
that Jesus
Muhammad
was from
sallallahu alaihi
God,
wasallam.
right?
Yes, we believe that Jesus was a prophet.
Okay.
Jesus was, for us, is just a prophet. He's not like, God or son of God. But we have our main messenger being the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he is God's final messenger in our religion.
Final. So there's no more going to be like him.
Yeah, they say that there's no more that's going to be like him. He was the last. He's not son of God or anything like that. He's just simply the final prophet.
So, how does like in Christianity there is revelation where Jesus comes back and he gets on a white horse and slaps a demon around, or the beast or whatever. I don't know how it
Yeah.
goes, to be honest. What's going on with your guys' religion? Like, is there anything at the end where it's
Well,
like,
the thing is that it's surprising because Islam doesn't. Okay, in the same way that Christianity can't be put into, or you can't put Islam into Christianity because of the fact that Jesus and everything like that, right? You can kind of put Christianity into Islam if you want to look at the history of it, where Islam came uh, after Christianity in the first place. But our religion basically is like the Torah and the Bible and all those books are valid words of God. It's just that as time has progressed and as humans have, looked at it and touched it and whatever it may be, that original message of God has been like changed over time. So he sent down the Quran as well as the Prophet in order to be kind of, the final messengers and give the unadulterated, unfiltered word of God that cannot be touched by man, which is why you see a lot of Muslims be very serious. I would argue that out of all the three Abrahamic religions, we can often be seen as the most like strict when it comes to it, or like very serious about it. And part of it is because for our thing, it's like this isn't like words of people. This isn't words of whatever. This is for us the direct word of God Himself. So everything can be said, or everything that it is said in there should be taken with the utmost seriousness. Now, for me personally, I would say that if it comes to other Muslims, I wouldn't argue that I'm the quote unquote best Muslim, right? I can be seen as a little bit like whatever. It's not that I wouldn't tell myself that I'm not Muslim. I definitely follow the culture. I believe in Allah. I do all these other things. But at the same time, I feel like because of the way my brain is and I'm a little bit more open minded, that my idea of God is very different from what someone else might view. Where I believe that if you listen to what God is saying and how he's portrayed, especially in the Quran, where they literally call him the most gracious, the most merciful. It's part of his name. God is all good, all powerful, all knowing. That when you live a good and virtuous life, even with mistakes, even with sometimes breaking the rules, that God not only knows your intention, but is good enough to forgive you for it. And I believe that a lot of Muslims and a lot of people, when it comes to God in general, they can be put in a box where they feel like you have to follow the rules or you're gonna just go to hell. And it's like not that you're supposed to break the rules, but more like God is not going to punish you unjustly for things that are overly out of your control, or at least overly something where you're not able. Like he knows if you're a good guy. He knows if you're a good person. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting that you say you have like a different view of what God might be compared to what maybe a typical person with in Islam might believe. I think this is why I say I'm agnostic before saying spiritual, because I want to like bridge the gap between different ideologies and different understandings and different beliefs, because I think there's something important and true for each one of them, because like I don't think like obviously people hold something true to being in whatever religion they are, because they witness that and they experience it. And I think it's important to be like, yeah, you're right, but like think about this. So one thing I'll say is, um, I don't know how I feel about the whole Muhammad being like the last prophet. And I don't know what even would even mean by prophet, but maybe I'm okay with that. I'm thinking out loud right now. So I think that might be an okay thing, being the last prophet. But what does a prophet mean? And a prophet means like someone who has direct communication with God. Is that correct? And then going off and teaching the word,
Yeah. It's more like it. Well, prophet is a messenger, right?
a
So
messenger.
it's more
Yeah.
like for us, we don't really say that any of them had a direct contact with God, like in the sense of like they're able to just pull up their phone and be like, yo, God, what's up? Like not any of that, but more like God maybe giving can give them revelations or give them an understanding of stuff that other humans may not be able to. They're uh like how you describe like an agent, for like let's say they're an agent for a God. Like there are people that go and spread messages of what who God is and what his message is.
Right. I have two things, but I'll go here first and remind me to go back to Mary and Jesus. But the first thing is, how do we know where, well, first of all, where thoughts come from, but where do original thoughts or ideas come from in the first place, right? Like, is the voice in
Original?
my, yeah, is the voice in my head really my voice? And this is something we can just just question out there. It's like, is it really my voice? But people tell me it's my voice, but what if it's not my voice? And what kind of voices are in my head that can be distinguished in different characters, and which one should I listen to? And this is where like the confused agent and like my story, or like a story that would make sense with the confused agent, is like telling you stuff sometimes, and you're like, wait a second, buddy, this is why we don't think this way, you idiot. Well, I'm sorry. Hey, I didn't mean to call you idiot. Oh wait, I didn't mean to. Okay, did you want that kiss? I didn't mean to do that without your consent, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's externalizing and making it like theatrical in a sense, and like like it's playful in a sense, to where it's like fine. It's like, is it fine tuning my brain? Yeah, because like for things I did to my own body, I think it's okay. But like I'm just rambling at this point, and it's like, where are these thoughts coming from in the first place? To the point where like if I acted in such a way to say that, and then said, "Whoops, do you mean consent?" I would say my left finger is Trump, and I've done that same thing to him. Trump, it's okay. Red rum. No, not red rum. Trump. Sorry. Anyways, so I just get kind of silly and it's kind of stupid. But anyways,
You're okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say that. See, your question is interesting because I think that one of the things that makes me a little bit different is that, again, I'm very much more. I'm very I like looking at a lot of topics because I like stories so much, because that's kind of like, the way that I am. I've taken in so many different perspectives of life that it's kind of hard for me to be ignorant and indoctrinated into like one little thing, which has caused me to look out and branch out and look at the world and everything like that, all these different ideas. So I'm not the most knowledgeable, but I know a little bit about Christianity. I know a little bit about Judaism. I know a little bit about philosophy. I know about all these different things because more knowledge is more knowledge. And while I will still call myself a Muslim, I still believe that like I still look at all these other philosophies because like you said, some of them do have like truths to them. Some of them do have interesting stuff to them. Some of them are interesting stuff to talk about. But what you talked about is very much a question of consciousness, right? Some people
Yes.
consciousness is God, right? And this it's a whole like ideology in philosophy and all these things. The question of consciousness, the biggest one that we arguably have in all of human existence. What is it? Where does it come from? And I don't know who quoted it, but there is a philosopher who said that the only thing that you can be sure of in this life is your own existence, right? And I think that it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily answer your question, but thinking about what they mean might lead you down that path or lead you down maybe an understanding where it's like the reason why he said that is that maybe this entire thing is a simulation, right? Maybe your hands, maybe your arms, maybe your body, maybe the people you're seeing, maybe everything is a simulation. But when you close your eyes, when there's nothing left, when there's everything is gone, your entire like body, bones, skin, everything, what can you be sure of that exists? That voice in your head, that consciousness, quote unquote. And I think that it's interesting because I'm not saying that you might agree with it. I don't know. But at the same time, I think that on some level, I can understand what he would mean by that. And if that is the case, then I'm not going to say that I know where this voice comes from. Could be someone, could be whatever it may be. It depends on your beliefs, I guess. It could be God that put it in there. But I think that the individual self, the consciousness, this idea, where it came from is an important question. But at the same time, it's like uh this like does the fact that you don't know where it came from change what it is now? I guess is how I'm going to put it.
Well, I think it's how we look at it and how it can serve us to be progressing as human beings, right? Maybe an
Mm.
alien trying to tap into our minds, like an alien species that are trying to help us like be better before it comes into contact with us, wants us to be better so we don't destroy everything or whatever. Like maybe they're trying to tap into us. And look, that doesn't have to be factual, but what if we took it and ran with it to the point where we're like, okay, so there's aliens trying to talk to us, but like there's something else trying to talk to me too and it's like, what is this negative voice telling me this? And what and how do you even recognize a negative voice in the first place, Brady? It's like, what am I talking about? But there's like, I think there's like competing desires within all of us, and whichever desire is the strongest is the one that gets out. And this kind of goes back to the whole like predetermination thing. But I'll present this idea with you. Do you believe that? Do you believe that porcupines can shoot their quill?
Porcupines can shoot their quail.
Can they?
Uh, I'm not sure scientifically. Maybe I don't know.
So maybe. So they might be able to.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So you have that belief that that porcupines can or might be able to shoot their quill, and since you say that they might, you might be more. If you see one, you might be more like, oh, like be like, hey, I'm gonna back up away from this guy, and you'll be better off not like getting harmed by it. But look at me with knowledge, and I'm like, okay, so porcupines cannot shoot their quill, and I'm gonna get close to it. Oh, and it poked me, and I got hurt. So me having like the actual fact, like, could get harmed by the porcupine if I want to get too close to it. But you having like a belief that's not factual can keep you safe.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting idea where it's like now at that point it's now about the caution of it, I guess, where it's like, okay, maybe because I think that there's a possibility of the porcupine hurting me, I might not go to it. But even though you know for a fact that porcupines can't do it, it allowed you to get close enough to get hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And that idea is really interesting. I think that I'm trying to give me one sec. I'm trying to like get all my thoughts down in my
Oh,
brain
you're good. You're
to
good.
how I'm going to start because
I'll
this
get
is
this.
it is interesting.
Get some
All right.
I'll go pee for quarter.
Uh, I think that it's one of those things where I don't know if you heard the quote of or not quote, but the story of Icarus. You know how Icarus
He
got too
sounds.
close to the sun.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like the Greek god,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like the Greek god, and he like got too close to the sun, got burned, and fell down and stuff like that. I don't know why, but it's giving me similar to those vibes where it's like on the one hand, it's not necessarily the same, but like how Icarus wanted to fly higher and higher and higher, and it's almost like in his hubris, he didn't realize that the sun is bigger than him and fell all the way down. And it's like, in on some level, it's like us as human beings, despite us having a knowledge, there's an ego in the knowledge, right? Where sometimes because of the ego, we might get close to something because we think we can handle it, and then that thing slaps us back in our face, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, you can have the opposite end of the spectrum where someone is constantly maybe afraid of something, or at least at bare minimum, they don't know what's going on, so they're always suspecting something. But on the one hand, while you may get hurt if you get too close, you may never know if you don't. So it's like the answer is probably somewhere in the middle where you need to know enough to be curious, but also be wary enough to not want to get hurt, you know?
Right, and I think that's good. Like learning as much as possible. That's the most accurate thing possible to know what reality actually is. I think that's a good thing to strive for. But the point I'm giving you to here is like we can abstract an idea or a story that might not be factual, but can get us to a destination together and progress as humans. And it can be delusional in a sense, but like as long as we know it's a delusion, right? Or who? How does that go, Brady? That can get kind of dicey because it can get dangerous. But like if we crafted like a story, like me and you, like whatever it might be, like it could work for both of us, and then we reach out to more people and reach out to more people and see if it aligns with them or not. And I think the more we have this idea about the basic structures of it, but are open to hear new ideas, I think we can get to a point where we're like, okay, so the porcupine doesn't shoot its quills, but we should still stay away from it. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't a good way to end it, but
But another
yeah,
thing that I wanted to add as well is about our ideas of different consciousnesses. Someone in the comments right now, Mr. Toyota Lover 1980, said, so are we talking about the voice that talks to you before you do something good or bad? And I
Oh,
think that like
interesting.
extrapolating that question, for me, it's never been multiple, you know? For my consciousness, my brain, it's always been one voice, right? And it's find it interesting because the entity that is me that's making actions and the entity that's in my head that's deciding those actions, you can maybe call two, but at the same time, there's always usually been one voice for me. But I realize that for other people, it might not be the case. That there might be multiple voices saying something.
So, have you ever made a mistake in your life?
Yeah, of course.
Of course, we all have, right? So let's scratch the mistake out. Have you ever done anything bad, like
Yeah, I would say so.
okay? And so, yeah, have you ever done anything good?
Yeah.
Of course, we've all done that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and where am I getting at, Brady? I think you know when we don't have to get into like the bad thing you did, but you can think of it in any way you need to. It's like what led you to do that in the first place, or think about like where the thought come from to do that in the first place, to where you as subjectively can take that in as a bad thing, right? And was that your voice? And you can say maybe, yes, definitely, probably, right? Because you say it's one voice, right? But sometimes it's interesting because have you ever made that same mistake twice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or the
Well,
same bad thing
yeah, I
twice?
would say so.
So why did you
Yeah.
do it? Why did you do it a second time?
Well, I guess that would depend on that would be the context of it. So let's say, for example, it's lying. Let's say I lied.
Right.
Right? Lying could be seen as an immoral act. I lied once, then I lied twice. But both of those contexts as to why I lied might be two different things. Uh, and I forgot what I wanted to say to what you were saying.
No, that's
But
okay. Yeah. So line's
yeah, I was.
contextual.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
say contextual, because there's some things that you would need to lie for to like maybe. Well, the classic example is like in 1940, Nazi Germany is like if you're hiding Jews, right? Would you lie? And most people are like, yeah, of course, I'll be the good person. Um, so like lying, I think is contextual at times, but it's an interesting example because like you don't want to really do it all the time, but like I think it's contextual in a sense, and we don't have to get into what that means. But like when it comes to like a bad thing you've done, and you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and whatever that is for you, right? It's like, what is that
Mm-hmm.
voice telling me to do it again? Is that my voice, or is that the confused agent?
Oh. I would say there's two things, right? First of all, I think that there's a whole nother aspect that we're not kind of recognizing, where sometimes as human beings, we don't do things because of a decision that we've made in our mind, but rather an emotion that we might feel, right?
Ooh,
We're emotional creatures. It's not always a decision that we make that, oh, I'm going to do this thing because my brain tells me to do it. Sometimes it's, you're pissing me off right now. Let me get angry. And then I get angry, right? And then I reflect back and ask myself why I got angry. It's not because my brain told me to do so, but my emotions, my feelings in that moment made it so. And another thing is that the second thing I wanted to say was about like the question of, was that voice me, right? In a way, they could tie back to the first thing that we talked about when it comes to accountability, right? Where I believe that a part of it can be where we can say that this voice is something else, or we can say that this voice is whatever it may be, but a part of it is saying that maybe this voice is me, and then figuring out why that voice is making me do X, Y, and Z.
right. I think it's really interesting when you bring it to emotions. But like, say you're angry. Well, say first someone cuts you off in traffic, and you get angry. What's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Um, I'm not really sure.
Like say anything that makes you angry. Like if something makes you angry, if you can, you don't have to say it out loud, but like if you can look back onto your life at a time you became angry, what was like the thought that came to your mind when you felt that emotion?
um,
You don't have to say it out loud. I'm just trying to get you to like process it.
yeah, okay. I'm thinking about it, but the reason why I find it a little bit hard is because I would argue that sometimes there's not a thought. Not because it's like I'm not
Interesting.
thinking. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not because there's like nothing going on in my brain, but because it's like it's a feeling, it's overwhelming. Like it's not something that I'm thinking, it's something that I'm simply doing.
So you're an agent in train, of course. So yeah, it's one of those things where like sometimes you just feel emotion and you behave and you act. Um, but I would say subconsciously you're thinking about something to behave in the first place, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes we're not always conscious of what we're thinking. This is something I kind of struggled with, being really hard on myself. Years prior, like I was hard on I'm still hard on myself, but like I'm more aware of it because I externalize my thoughts and I get it out there so I can figure out what the fuck is wrong. But anyways, um, I think this is why it's important to externalize thoughts and talk with people, right, like this, right, and have these kinds of dialogues is to get it out there. Because like for me in the past, like when I was like very depressed and like socially anxious and like hard on myself and negative, like I would like just ruminate and just like keep on reflecting and being like I'm such a piece of shit or whatever the bad was in my head. And like I said it in different ways, right? But like it was essentially that kind of thing where I wasn't always conscious of what I was thinking, even though I was thinking. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that on some level that yeah, we could argue the thing. So let's say for example, like I get angry in a situation, right? The problem is not why I'm angry, right? Like I might know the reasoning as to why I'm mad. Let's say my little brother is like rage baiting me or some shit, right? Like he's just simply pissing me off. I might know the reason as to why my brother is pissing me off, but the action and the feeling of my anger, what I might do because of that, is a little bit different than the recognition of why it's even happening in the first place. And it's like I think that like emotion is one of those things where it's like yeah we have our consciousness over here, but us as human beings sometimes simply like feel something. It's why for example when it's something like the emotion of love, for they say how everybody has a different definition of love. Nobody really feels or thinks about love in the same way. And using that as an example, it's like you can think about why you might love, you might understand why you might love something, but the feeling of the love itself is not something that you're naturally just simply thinking, oh, I should love this person, I'm going to love this person, or whatever. Sometimes love is a gradual thing, it just creeps up on you. Sometimes it's something where you just simply feel it. So,
Right, and
yeah.
I would say there's no such thing as negative emotion. All emotions are just data for us to understand how to think and behave. Like when
You want me to ask you a question tomorrow? Yeah, that's it now. Yeah, ask it later. Sorry about that.
no,
It's my
you're
little brother talking to
oh
me.
that's totally okay. So like
Yeah.
like for your example with your little brother like pissing you off for some ways and whatever way he did or if he did, um, like there's a thought that happens and like you say this little booger or whatever the thought goes in your
Yeah.
mind. Like you might not be conscious of it, but like for you to act in such a way, there is something going on there that makes you act in a certain way. And I think our thoughts drive our feelings, which drive our behaviors. And it's CBT with cognitive behavioral therapy is the term they use. But it's true that they all relate with each other, right? And if we're feeling, then we think and behave and whatever. Um, so I think it's being more conscious of our thoughts in every given moment. And it's I think it's possible, and I think the more we be vulnerable with our minds, the more we can fine tune our brains as we talk, and like it's essentially like you're like giving me a puzzle piece, and I put it in my mind like, hey, thank you, like I give you a puzzle piece, and like it's we're building this puzzle together, right, to the point where we can uh, progress.
Have you ever seen or felt this idea of moving without thinking?
Moving without thinking. What do you mean
You
by
know
that?
how like in superhero movies or shows or anything like that, where there's this moment where the hero simply they describe it as just moving without thinking, where they're trying to go save someone or something like that, where their body moves before their brain does.
Oh yeah, it's like with my hands. Like what the fuck are my hands doing right now, right?
Yeah, similar to that, where it's like this action is being done here without, it's like instinctive, right? Now, if we're using that as an example, right? On the one hand, you could argue that the person is thinking, the person is being conscious. They're moving because let's say they want to save someone, right? But this idea of what I mean by emotion or our body doing it is because there's just so many different aspects to us being human, right? And I would argue that while consciousness is one of those biggest mysteries of where it comes from, what it is, there's something else I would argue that is kind of running us, and I would argue that maybe we can call this thing a soul, right? In a way,
Hmm. Hmm.
where it's like on the one hand we have our brain where we're thinking about our actions where we are intrinsically, but we have the thing that's maybe constantly in the present, which might be the soul, and that's where emotion or other things and everything like that comes from, where we feel things. And I would argue that you can like no look no further than something like music, for example, right? Like despite having consciousness and despite consciousness being a mystery, something like music is also a great mystery. Imagine you can hear a sound, and this sound can cause you to feel a certain type of emotion or look at to some certain type of way without any sort of lyrics, right? And it's like, where is this thing getting hit from? Like, is it your brain that's doing it? Is it your again your consciousness that's thinking it for it to even happen? But sometimes it's just simply like music is playing and you feel a certain type of way about it because the sound makes you feel a way. And I think that that feeling that it's striking is the soul.
Interesting. When it comes to what you said prior, I'll try to get to the whole soul thing too. But when you say we are like out of control in a sense, I think that's how we being very careful with my words here. If we keep the value, if we keep the values in our foundation about who we are, a curious, open-minded understanding, put that in our value structure, right? And then think about the demons and who we are, like how we have been in the past, or getting like rid of those in a sense, like fearlessly looking inwards. And what I would say for myself, my ethos is fearlessly be for others and myself, right? So being fearless with those values and letting go of control at that sense, to where I don't even know where I'm gonna ramble, like what this ramble is going on to, where I'm dance battle. I see dance battle, and as it came into my awareness. And Toyota lover, I think I've talked with you before. Good to
Yeah.
see you. And I'm not even looking at all the comments, but where am I going with this, right? And I don't know, but we're gonna talk about the soul because I think it's important to like I think it's under the sternum right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever felt it before? Like radiate, just like right now, I feel like at peace, I would say. And it's not strong, it's just there. And this hasn't always been the case for me, right? And I think people kind of take this away from others at times by talking them down. And I think this is why we ought to like validate each other and like believe each other. And this is where I'm going to get to with Mary and Jesus later on. But like believing in each other and like rising up together, I think is, I think is how we ought to progress as humans. And it's interesting what music can do to a person, right? Um, Hans Zimmer manipulates us when we watch movies.
Huh?
Hans Zimmer manipulates us when we watch movies. He's literally invoking, or he's constructing these frequencies and these sounds in such a way to where we see a moving image over the screen. And when we see a moving image over the screen, we are literally hearing his music, his composition, and it's making us feel an emotion. He's
Mm-hmm.
manipulating
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. You could argue that yeah, it is a kind of a manipulation, and I think manipulation. I don't know if I would use that word in particular, um, but I could see what you mean. Like, yeah, like you could say it is a type of manipulation, but I would also argue, like, again, when we talk about stories and what I mean by like how stories can connect all types of people, you know, you can argue that when I'm writing a story and it's about a character and, maybe this character is really sad or something like that, in a way, I'm manipulating the audience in order to make them feel this emotion for this character and in turn become more connected, become more like sympathetic, and understanding of this character who, it's not real. They don't know. They don't understand. Like it's not a real individual. And if anything, it's like words coming off of a page.
Right.
But like again, manipulating them, quote unquote.
I think there's good ways to do it, right? And there's obviously bad ways, like gaslighting or, well, gaslighting is bad, and I've done that once, and it's not a good thing. I'm not proud of it, and I feel terrible about doing it. But I was in a very experimental mindset. But I think it comes with a great deal of understanding about how the human mind operates in the first place, or just the situation that can arise from certain things appearing within our data receptors to the point where we can influence that person's feelings to be productive for themselves. I really had to be
No, yeah,
careful with how I spoke that.
and for sure. And I think that your idea, I do kind of get what you mean. I think that it is a little bit of a slippery slope where we
What do you
can
mean?
be like the part about like quote unquote using manipulation in a good way to get people along the good path, right? And I think that I say it's a slippery slope not because I fully disagree with you, but I will say that it's a slippery slope because I can see why this can be uh transformed into a negative really quickly. Not
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah, I know. I'm just agreeing.
yeah, not because it's necessarily bad, if we have like let's say the theory about a the confused agent no longer being confused, right? This would be the perfect type of individual to be able to like, do this quote unquote like, good manipulation in a way,
Ooh, now
right?
you're getting somewhere. Now you're getting
But
somewhere.
at the same time, it's hard because even the confused agent is confused, right? So when it comes to the confused agent, we can arguably manipulate the confused agent into feeling whatever quote unquote thing we're trying to make it feel, right? So you talk about the confused agent finally being able to take something and then be an individual, like be like no longer confused. But like, while there can be a good side of this, would that also mean that in turn there can also be a negative side of this, quote unquote, like agent, where the things that they take might not be good?
The things that they experience are us, and there can be confused agents on Earth too. Um, it just depends, and we treat them in such a way where, as you being an agent, you can determine that what the mission is, and you know what the mission is, and when I say that, that's very broad, but I think you know what that means from talking with me enough, right? And yeah, so um, it's literally I'm making this up as I go along. So I'm trying to figure it out as we talk with each other, right? So when the confused agent is playing through us, it is experiencing us for a whole like for ever. It's never getting out of the technology, but it might. And but if it comes to that, if it stops being in all of us, and this is why I think we need to identify what this confused agent is, uh, and talk to it in such a way where it's eradicated from who we are as humans. Does that make any sense?
No, yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of a good analogy to place this good agent and to ask you a question. And I will have to be going to bed soon, so this might be
Yeah.
my last little
Okay.
thing before I go. But I was gonna say that let's say there's like a doll, okay? But this doll is an omnipresent, omnipowerful, omni whatever type of doll, right?
A doll,
And
like
it's
a DOLL.
yeah, DOLL doll,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And this doll stays on the human earth for let's say like 10 years or so, right? Where at first it's basically nothing, and over time it takes in and absorbs all of humanity and all of the nature about humans, and while you're taking care of it until by the time that 10 years is up, it decides whether or not it's going to destroy the entire world or continue to like, allow it to be, right? And the question I would have is that like when you take this doll and by the time the 10 years are up, Do you think that most of the thing that it will absorb is good, or do you think that most of the thing that it will absorb will be bad? Do you think that it will decide to end humanity, or do you think
Well,
that it will decide to continue it?
that's why we don't take the doll out of the simulation or simulation. What the fuck am I talking about? That's why we don't take the doll out until it's ready, and that's not us to make. That's not the decision for us to make. That's beyond us. We're literally here to help the gods, um, help this confused agent, and it's already set in motion to the point where, like, it's gonna happen, like with or without humans. It's going to come back into this thing, but we have the choice. I don't know about the choice, but I think the more we talk about ideas like this that are kind of abstract, we can reach an understanding about like what this idea might be and how we can cure the confused agent while still being alive. If that makes any sense.
No, yeah, sure. Um, I think it's an interesting question because I really do wonder by the end of it what it will be. You know, like will the agent take what is quote unquote good, or will it take what is quote unquote bad? And at the same time, who really determines that? You know, who is deciding what is good and what is bad?
So with agents here on Earth, we can find them, but we can still talk to them because we're training them to be gods later on after this life. So if you're an agent, I'm going to help you become a god if you want, if you consent to it, and we can talk about this later on. Um, but you're training me to be an agent, but I switch between them sometimes, if it makes any sense. But I'm pretty much primarily an actor, and I would say I'm a good actor. But there is times I've been a bad actor, and I'm open to talking about that. And I think it's worth explaining sometimes to people about bad things I've done, so we can understand what not to repeat. We look, we see, we don't repeat bad again, and we
Yeah.
can really get that out of our fucking heads. And sorry, but I think it's something where we help each other, where we fine tune our minds together to where we all get to this place. And then once it clicks, so does the confused agent. And then we can literally subjectively understand what this means in our own ways. And I think we all have a unique and beautiful way of explaining that in our own ways. And I believe that. If not in my lifetime, someone else's.
No, yeah, for sure. All right. One final thing I want to do before I go to bed. I
Yes,
got
sir.
my little quote and phrases document here, and what I like to do is play a little game where
Okay.
I ask you to rate the quote. Okay, I'm gonna read about maybe let's say 10 of them. You rate them out of 10, out of how much you agree with them, like them,
Whoa.
or whatever.
Like rate each out of like I need to pick like which one's number two, which one's number
Nah,
one.
not no one. I'll ask you them, and then you could rate them right afterwards.
Oh,
Out of
we're
10.
out of 10. Out of 10. Okay.
Out of 10. Out of 10. All right. And people, whoever might be listening right now, you guys can join as well.
Yes, sir.
Anybody in the comments, if you want to rate as well, you can do that. All right.
I like this idea. I
So,
like this idea.
all right. So, this is the first quote and phrase. Again, not all of them are quotes, some of them are just words. So, just tell me if you agree.
Okay.
If you can't imagine doing it forever, then don't do it at all.
I like it.
You like it? What would you rate it out of 10?
9.
And on the greenness scale, 9? 9? Okay, that's pretty good. All right. Uh, if all you have on the line is your pride, then your pride is misplaced.
If all you have on the line is your pride, then your pride is misplaced. I would
Mm-hmm.
say that's it. Solid 7.
It's a 7. Okay. I see that the last broadcaster Toya rated the last one a 1 and a 7.
Oh, nice. Good job, guys.
Yeah. All right. This Toyo said 10 for this one. The next one is uh, this one is a little bit different. That the people that built their heaven on your land are telling you yours is in the sky.
Ooh, that's a deep one. I go for 9 on that one too. I like that one because it's like one of those ideas. It's like don't let people like dictate like what you think in a sense. It's like
Mm-hmm.
being like agnostic to ideas again and understanding why they're important to you. So I like that one a lot.
Yeah, for sure. This one is one of my favorites. A masterpiece is defined as something that deserves to be remembered, not a measurement.
Ooh, measurement. I like that one.
Yeah,
Like measurement as like comparing, but like a
yeah. So
masterpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, so a masterpiece is not something that can necessarily be measured. Like if something has certain qualities to it, it just is something that deserves to be remembered. That's
I like
all it
that.
needs to be a masterpiece.
I like that a lot. I give it a 9 too.
Nine. All right. The difference between medicine and poison is the dosage.
Ooh. Ooh. The difference between medicine and poison is the dosage. This could be interesting for like people who are alcoholics in a sense. Maybe.
Mm,
I'm just rambling. I like that. I give that a 7.
seven. Okay. When you analyze something, you try to take possession of it. Uh, when you enjoy something, you let it take possession of you.
Ooh. That's like kind of like in a way how to explain it is like just surrendering to being out of control in a sense.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that
Surrender.
again?
Yeah. When you analyze something, you try to take possession of it. When you enjoy something, you let it take possession of you.
I like that because it's even like it reminds me of like when I externalize my thoughts and walk around and just talk to like my friend in my head or God or whoever it might be, where like I'm analyzing something, but then I make it into like play in a sense where like I just enjoyed where these thoughts are kept going from, but then I analyze it again. So I think it's interesting. Can you repeat that again? I would like to hear that one more time. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. When you analyze something, you try to take possession of it. When you enjoy something, you let it take possession of you.
I like that. I'll give it a 9.
A nine. It seems like other people have said 6.7. I think the last broadcaster, I think, said one for this one. I don't think broadcaster likes this one a lot. All right, next one. Um, this one is a little bit of a controversial one. I'm curious to see. When you want to become great in any field, you must embrace your savage side and become imbalanced.
I'd say it's that's accurate. 9.
You think that's accurate?
I think to reach like your full potential in a sense, like I'm still on my journey, right? But like I think if you can't be all things, then what are you? If you haven't experienced what all things might be, does it make any sense?
No, yeah, for sure. All right. This is the next one. One might ask for a pond and receive an ocean. Wait a sec, my phone. One might ask for a pond and receive an ocean, but there comes a time in their happiness that they realize that drowning in an ocean is a lot easier than drowning in a pond.
Hmm. Hmm. I get that one a solid 6
Six. Why six?
because it didn't really resonate with me like the other ones did. Um, I think it's interesting. Can you repeat one more time?
Yeah, for sure. One might ask for a pond and receive an ocean, but there comes a time in their happiness that they realize that drowning in an ocean is a lot easier than drowning in a pond.
It comes a time in their happiness. Maybe because I don't understand it, and I'll be honest about that. And I didn't hear it fully the first time. So their happiness, they ask for a pond, but they get an ocean, and it's easier to drown in an ocean.
Yeah, I think that what they're basically, or what it's trying to get at, is that sometimes you might ask for a lot, right? Or you might ask for something and then you get a lot of it. But you realize that in getting a lot of that thing, that it's much easier to mess up. It's much easier for it to like go wrong than it would be to get the little thing. They're basically saying that
Interesting.
you might ask for the ocean, but the ocean is a lot easier to drown in than it is to drown in a pond.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's like what
Hmm.
you don't really know what you're asking for sometimes, and then you get, and then you just kind of roll with it. So I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
I'd up it to a 7. I'd up it to a
Up it
7.
to some. All right. I'll read maybe three or four more.
Okay.
Okay. Those in misery enjoy company.
Yes, that's proven in my lifetime.
That's right. You think so?
There's a guy. Well, it's a story, but sometimes people just want to feel seen and heard, right? And they just want to talk and talk and talk. And when you share something about yourself, they don't care about it, and they'll just keep talking and talking and talking. But with this guy in particular, I'm thinking of he was not in like the best. Like there's some things going on wrong in his life, and he was very open about it, and I appreciate him for being open. This happened at a bar, by the way, so this was last year, and but he kept me around because uh, he's like, you're a really good friend for listening, and I appreciate you for doing this, and that made me listen to him for 3 hours straight. Um, but he was going through a lot, and I think it's good to hear people out. So, what in misery brings good company, right? Is that what that?
Yeah, I think so. All right. In anything at all, perfection is finally attained, not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away.
Hmm. Can you read that one more time?
In anything at all, perfection is finally attained, not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away.
Interesting. Perfection when there's nothing to add, but when there's nothing to be taken away. Interesting. I get
Yeah,
both sides.
so I think it's more like people often think of perfection as something that is like, you have to keep getting better at. Like you keep adding on, you add on, and so that it can one day become perfect, hopefully. But I think this quote is trying to say that perfection is not actually something that needs to be added on to, but it's something where it's like when you no longer need to take away from it, or when there's nothing to take away, that's when you know it's perfect.
I like that. That's good. That's a good way of
Yeah.
putting it.
All right. Trying to find a good one.
Pascal, I see you, by
Um,
the way. You're up in the queue next. So Pascal
um,
Stoll. I like it. The name.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a good one.
That's okay. Appreciate there's
Mm,
5 people watching. Amazing. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. It's been a
Fantastic.
solid. It's been a solid. What is the date? Wednesday. Yeah, it's been a good Wednesday. Hope everyone's been having a great Wednesday. We're just going
All
over
right.
quotes. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the final one.
Okay,
Accept the things you cannot change. Have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
that's like Stoicism 101.
Yeah.
That's great. I like it. 9. I think it's important to know what you cannot change, and change what you can, which is yourself, or at least becoming more aware and conscious of what not to do again. Oh, see ya, Diallo writes. Appreciate you coming up and talking, and you're more than welcome to come up in the future again. I didn't know if you meant to drop out right there, but we're gonna invite the one, the only Pascal Stall. Okay, that's enough, Brady. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good. How old are you, by the way?
I am 15. Is that okay?
Ooh, sorry. TikTok terms of service, you have to be 18 years or older. It's their rules, not
Uh,
mine.
okay, yeah,
Sorry,
that.
sorry, sorry about that. Sorry about that. It'd been so great to talk with someone because you're the only person in my guest. But it's TikTok TOS. I'm sorry about that, Pascal. Um, here now I can catch up with the comments. There's 5 people. If everyone wants to request up, it's the blue and the pink people in the bottom. Um, we can literally talk about literally anything. But I see the last broadcaster. It's been great seeing you in here. It's always good talking with you. I think we talked a couple times last week, but I appreciate you hanging out with us. Um, what do we think? Thinking about making her a widow instead of a divorcee. Whoa, Haba Fecky. What's going on? What's going on? Is he with us? I don't see this guy with us. My Wi-Fi decided to disconnect. Luckily, it was the final quote. Thanks for having me on then. Oh, I see. Okay, so I didn't even see who wrote it. I was just reading it. Yeah, no, you're good. Until next time, man. It was great to talk with you. Are you being serious? That was rude. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, lost broadcaster. Um, I don't know how to take that comment. I take it as uh they're going through a lot. It sounds like. I don't know if they're still with us. I think they might have left. Oh, here they are. I got home from work and she was gone with half the house and the dog. She was gone with half the house and the dog. Hmm. This calls for some agua. Agua purificada. What do you think the purpose of fear is? How do we overcome it? Should we? With regards to anxiety, yes. I think we can overcome it, or at least make it less intense. And it could be, everyone's on their own journey when it comes to this, right? Now, this is why I'm curious to talk to more people who have this and have experienced it. Shadow, I see you. 1 second. How's it going, Shadow? I think we should try to not let it dictate how we think, which is easier said than done. But I think we ought to fearlessly look inwards and try to really understand how we operate, like how our mind thinks, and try to not make mistakes twice, or try not to do bad things twice. And that's up to each individual to subjectively understand it on their own, right? But I think, with anxiety, like for me in the past, I used to like ruminate and just really be negative on myself. And I think one way to like get past it is being more kind to ourselves, right? So I think how we talk to ourselves is like critical to the point where like if we're always negative, right? It's hard to be positive, and people can practice this in their own ways. Like in the past, words of affirmation didn't really do jack shit to me. Like I was in mental hospitals, and they're like, "Yeah, write words of affirmation." I'm like, I don't believe this. Like I was even to the point where like it was hard to take compliments in. And I'm not saying people are being disingenuous in that time. I just couldn't accept it for myself because I was such in a bad state of mind. So, what's the how do you overcome it? And it'd be interesting to talk to you because like each person has their own unique story, and it's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel negative. Well, if it feels like a negative emotion, but I don't think emotions are negative in the first place. They're just data, and they indicate that something important is going on with inside of us for us to understand. And for me, like externalizing my thoughts really helped because like when I internally just like constantly thought about whatever, like I wasn't always subjectively aware of what I was thinking, right? And externalizing it and putting it out into the world helped me like be like, oh, that's a negative thought. That's like twist that phrase. Like, no, don't think that way, Brady. Don't think that way. But it's okay that you did. But like, no, like let's reframe it in a positive light. So I think how we talk to ourselves is critical. I'm gonna invite Mr. Shadow.
Yo, hello,
Hey,
Brady.
how's
How
it
you
going?
been,
How's it
Brad?
going?
Good, bro. How you been?
Doing good, doing good. We talked, I think, a couple days ago. I think.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah. What's new? What's new?
Nothing. I just came to a realization.
Yeah.
I realized that girls are kind of a waste of time, and I should be focusing more on myself and trying attracting girls.
How did you reach that conclusion?
Well, I've been thinking a lot, and I realized that a relationship, like 90% of the relationship, is gonna end eventually by like either either like the other party or the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Sorry.
So
Sorry.
it either ends eventually. I mean, it depends on the person, right?
I
And
mean, it depends. It depends. It depends. It depends. But
right.
I
I
just
think
came to that conclusion.
yeah. I think it's I think it's good to like put working on yourself like as like one of the more things to prioritize. But like if someone comes along, like someone comes along, right? And that's like the beauty with it. But I think it's good that you made that realization about like prioritizing yourself and trying to work on yourself is a good thing, right? But if someone comes along, don't
Yeah,
don't don't be like, nah, take it up and just don't pass on opportunities if they come up, right?
yeah. I completely understand that. It's just that, like relationships are just a waste of time, and I should find the person that actually I can connect with. I shouldn't be like really focused on trying to like impress girls and stuff. Because I mean, I got like a life to live. I don't really feel like spending a life with someone I love yet. I'll eventually get to that soon, but not like
Right.
this moment.
And you're 19, right? You got plenty of time, so much
Yeah,
time to figure it out. Um,
I
look,
gotta
I
figure out my like. Oh,
oh
oh,
go ahead.
sorry, did I cut you off?
No, no, you're good. You got to figure out
I've
what.
been spent. Uh, I've been trying to figure out my identity for like the past few years, and I finally figured out who I'm supposed to be. And I came to this conclusion because I think of all the life experiences I've been through my entire life, and
Right.
I realized that all the journeys, struggles I've been through, they weren't meant for that reason. They're meant to teach me about who I am as a person and who I want to become as a person. Because without all those mistakes, without those like challenges, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I'll
No,
probably be
you're
someone
definitely
different.
right. And isn't that the amazing thing? It's like for me, like I wouldn't wish my life upon anyone, but like you said, like it's the good and the bad that made me who I am today, and I'm grateful for that, right? And it seems like you've come to that same conclusion, which is I think a beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah, like it's like life is life, man. Like you're gonna score high, you're gonna score low. It's about like the process.
What was the last part you're gonna what about scoring low? I didn't hear
It's
the last
about the
part.
process. It's about the process.
About the process. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that's part of what makes at the end goal, if you ever reach an end goal, like worth it, right? Like if you just got whatever like you're striving for, be like, well, I don't know. Sometimes it might be okay. It depends on like the journey you've had in your life with what it was, right? But someone asked me like, would you rather just like, well, how would I phrase this? And the way I think about it now, I don't know. But like, what would you rather climb Mount Everest or just like be booped to the top of it just to experience? And like, I would. Someone asked me this question. I'm like, well, I don't think I'd want to climb Mount Everest, and it'd be interesting to be that high, like the world's highest mountain, right? Just to see what that's like. So my analogy doesn't work. So I'm just yapping at this point.
Yeah, that's all good, man. Well, anyway, I was gonna say, oh shit, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I was just saying that it's better to focus on enjoying life, man. I mean, sure. I mean, there are some downsides. There might be people that are better than you. There might be people that are pretty good at stuff than you are. There's probably gonna be people that have high intelligence than you, but that's just life, man. You can only be you. You can't be anybody else but you.
Right. People are all on their different journeys, right? And people are all different and unique and beautiful in their own ways, which is a fantastic thing, right? Um, comparing sometimes can be okay. Like for instance, like for me in the film industry, working on animation, like I would go and look at other people's shots that they created just to see like how I would like compete against, like not really compete, but like how I would compare against them. Um, so it could be used in an okay sense, but like comparing in a negative way where like you're constantly comparing, I think can be like detrimental to some degree. I think this is why social
Yeah.
media is uh, kind of weird at times because like we're sometimes only presenting our good selves out there, and it's not like our authentic self sometimes. Sometimes it depends on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person, uh, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like I've learned is that people only post the good stuff on social media, not the bad stuff, because they only want the good stuff to be out there. They don't want any of the bad stuff to be down there. That's what
right.
I've realized. That they only
I'm trying something new
like
with Facebook.
they only want
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, like people are like interesting. I mean, we're interesting creatures. I mean, we feel pain, we feel like happiness, we feel all these emotions, and we feel like and we're learning still. We're still learning to this day. We're still learning how to feel it out ourselves and how to become better people. I mean, sure, we
Right.
might have committed some mistakes. We might have like done some stuff that we shouldn't have done, and we might have regretted it, but we still kept going because at the end of the day, you got to keep going in life because you can't go back and you can't stop. You have to keep going no matter what, and then you have to overcome it and keep moving forward because if you keep moving forward, you might get to your prize, and if you
Mm-hmm.
keep wanting going back, then you won't be able to reach your prize.
Yeah. Good way to put it, man. You seem more mindful of stuff compared to when we talked last time. Like you're
Yeah,
more talkative about these different ideas. I think, which is awesome that you like reach these conclusions on your
yeah,
own. So that's great.
yeah. I realize it's like eating like a flavor, like a flavored ice cream or a food that you like to enjoy. If you keep eating it like every day, it's just gonna eventually get boring. So you got to keep on experiencing more stuff, trying new flavors or trying new stuff. Can't be having the same stuff. I mean, sure. I mean, I like eating my favorite ice cream flavor, literally, but like I'm talking of it like in a like inspiration. You can't just keep going back and like you can't be re-experiencing those moments. You got to keep going because at the end of the day, life is still gonna go happen. People are still gonna move on, and things are gonna change. I mean, that's life. You can't just like keep doing the same stuff over and over again. Like people are gonna eventually move on in other things.
Yeah, it depends on the person, definitely. Um, what was I gonna
Yeah, it
say?
depends on the person.
What was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? I don't remember what I was gonna say. I am actually like feeling exhausted. But if you wanna talk and say like a last statement, I'm sorry to cut it off short. Um, but it was good
Yeah,
talking
no,
with
it's
you.
okay.
Um,
Now,
yeah, if you want,
I would like to say one thing though.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Look, I realize that I can't be everybody else. I can't be like, those like fictional characters on TV. I can't be any of them. I have to be myself. I can't be comparing myself to them. It's not realistic. It's like I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, but the truth is I'm not them and they're not me. Like I can only control what I can do. I can't control what other people do or what they say or how they express themselves or how they are as a pure person. Like I don't have that control. The only person I can control is myself. And I
Yes.
realize now that I can't control other people because I can't. I'm not like a pup. I'm not like a puppet. I'm not like controlling the puppets. Like I control my own feelings, my emotions. Like I'm in control. I can't control other people because like I can't control them. They can only control themselves. Like if someone's mad at me, I guess I have to deal with it because they're still gonna be mad at me no matter what. I can't do anything about it. I mean, sure, I could say apologize, I could say sorry, but at the end of the day, if they're not gonna be friends with me or it's still gonna be angry, then that's life. I can't just make them stop hating me. I can't be friends with them if they don't want to. It's just I gotta move on and deal with it and find some different friends.
Right. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
realization to have, man. And I'm happy that you have that, especially at being so
Thank you,
young at
bro.
19, right? And yeah, dude, I believe you're gonna do it, and you're gonna get to the point where you need, like, where you want to be at, right? And I think working on yourself is a fantastic thing to like constantly do, like no matter what. And like you want to be a good person, you want to achieve great things, and I can hear that in how you talk, right? And just keep it up, man. It's I see so many good things in you as you talk, but like again, like progress isn't always linear. So like when it gets good, that's amazing, right? And keep that momentum. But if it gets bad, don't get so hard on yourself, because like it's always gonna come back around and be better. Um, so it's great hearing from you tonight,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you coming up, man.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, yes, all right, take care, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, bro.
Thank you. All right, people. Thank you for watching, everyone, and hanging out with us tonight. I probably will be on tomorrow. I don't work tomorrow, so maybe I'll be on in the afternoon. But it was good talking with all of you, and or hanging out with all of you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.